Comstar Guards and Militia. The Comguards were founded in the wake of the collapse of the Star League by Jerome Blake, who created them as a source of order for the Innisphere should the successor states attempt to attack Terra or any HBG stations across the Innisphere. The Comguards were kept hidden by Blake and his successors far from the prying eyes of the successor state militaries, and due to this, it escaped much of the technological downgrades that said militaries had suffered over the course of 4 succession wars. Settling with 5 regiments worth of full-time troops as part of a compromise with liberal elements of the First Circuit, Primus Hollings York placed the new Comstar Guards and military militia under the shared control of the Primus and First Circuit. Building his military force around the core of the now disbanded Bandersnatch's mercenary outfit and outfitted from Comstar's SLDF stockpiles, York tapped the vast resources of ROM to fund its creation, as well as convincing the First Circuit to approve millions more of sea bills to transform the Sandhurst Royal Military College from a RON training facility back into a full military academy again. Upon publicly announcing the formation of the branch to the stunned House Lords, York took great pains to convince them that the Comstar Guards would be a light infantry force, trained only for defensive purposes and stationed strictly on Terra. In truth, York set in motion the creation of the most powerful military since the collapse of the Star League, featuring extensive battle mech, combat vehicle, and aerospace fighter support bolstered by the construction and refurbishment of warships, by that point extinct in all successor state navies. However, the large volume of funding required for York's dream drew heavy criticism from both members of the First Circuit, such as Adrian Sims, and ROM, whose overall funding was reduced to pay for the Guard expansion. While York would attempt to soothe tensions with Sims by naming her his successor as Primus, he increasingly antagonized the Order's intelligence agency, ultimately proposing in the spring of 2947 to formally disband ROM to a full gathering of all presenters on Terra, with its intelligence gathering and security role to be reassigned to the Comstar Guards. The Comstar Guards and Militia would lose its patron 2 months after this history-making speech, when Hollings York was assassinated at the cornerstone-laying ceremony for the refurbished Sandhurst Royal Military College. One of the most strident critics of both York and the Guards and Militia, his successor Adrian Sims reversed plans to disband ROM, restoring its funding and transforming his Comstar Guards and Militia into a mere division of the Order's intelligence agency, as she focused on her own pet project, the Explorer Corps. The Clan War. One of the ironies of history is that Primus Adrian Sims's nightmarish visions of horrific, demonic, animal-like creatures striking from the periphery inspired her to create the Explorer Corps to protect Comstar and the Innisphere. Yet it would be this very tool that nearly led to the end of all that she sought to protect. In the summer of 3048, the Explorer Corps vessel Outbound Light jumped into clan space over the Smoke Jaguar world of Huntress. Khan Leo Showers immediately ordered his aerospace forces to seize the ship before it could exit the system or deploy dropships. The crew of the vessel were taken alive and interrogated regarding their origins and the nature of their mission. The information that they revealed under the influence of mind-controlled drugs and truth-measuring devices gave the clans their first in-depth insight into the Innisphere in decades. What Khan Showers learned from the Outbound Light's crew forced him to realize that the Innisphere had formed the Steiner-Davian Union, and now it was poised on the verge of forming a new Star League, without any help or place for the clans, more importantly. He also learned much about the Order and the role in preserving the Innisphere. He used this knowledge as a basis for initiating the clan invasion of the Innisphere a year later. The clan's initial invasion, which they named Operation Revival, struck at the periphery with unprecedented fury. None of the pirate kingdoms or weak periphery states were even remotely prepared for an assault of the magnitude unleashed by the clans. ROM agents who were posted to many of these worlds managed to transmit emergency messages to Terra before communications were cut, but none could communicate the nature of the attackers or their origin. The First Circuit didn't know what to make of this new enemy. Wielding new technology and presenting a very real threat to the Innisphere, many feared at first that the invaders might be alien hordes, but careful analysis showed that their use of battle mech technology and their language indicated that they were in fact human. As the clan's Operation Revival came to a close in the periphery, Primus Mindo Waterley took matters into her own hands, ordering the Explorer Corps emissary vessels to seek meetings with the unknown foes. The brave men and women manning these vessels were ordered to jump into clan-controlled space and to broadcast a request to open diplomatic dialogue. 2 of these ships were destroyed when they failed to respond to Clan Smoke Jaguar Bachal challenges. In November 3049, an Explorer Corps ship finally managed to establish contact with the clans. It was during this first encounter that we learned that the clans were the descendants of General Kerensky's Exodus fleet. The clans treated the members of the Order with a certain degree of respect once they realised the similarities between the foundation of this society and Comstar's lonely struggle to preserve the true heritage of the fallen Star League. In January 3050, Primus Waterley appointed Precentor Marshal Vogt as Comstar's official ambassador to the clans. Vogt travelled to the clan occupation zone and entered into intense discussion with Ilkhan Showers, and within 2 months he'd hammered out an agreement in which Comstar agreed to cut off all military transmission from the worlds targeted or captured by the clans. Vogt further agreed that Comstar would provide the clans with basic information on the military disposition of the great houses of the Inner Sphere, and information about the size, strength, and location of the Inner Sphere armed forces on worlds that they plan to attack. In return, the clans promised not to interfere with Comstar's operations, and to allow them to act as administrators of the worlds conquered by the invading armies. The Ilkhan, warlord of the clans, agreed to the contract for several reasons. The clans being a military people with little love for the detail of administration, hence, Comstar would relieve them of a necessary burden. Also, the writings of General Alexander Kerensky's son and heir Nicholas predicted that when the clans returned to the Inner Sphere, they would be assisted by those kept shadowed until the time of need. Ilkhan Showers chose to accept Comstar as that source of aid prophesied in the clan's beloved Remembrance, the epic poem recounting the clan's history and chronicling their exploits. Comstar's real intent in signing this pact was to buy the Primus and the First Circuit time to learn the true goal of their enemy. The agreement allowed Comstar to administer conquered worlds, also gave us access to extensive information on the clan invaders. Some of the First Circuit were against Primally's plan, however, arguing that these actions directly violated Jerome Blake's admonition that Comstar remain neutral in conflict within the Inner Sphere. Instead, with one stroke, our Order became a tool to aid in the near destruction of the Inner Sphere.